Good morning, lovely people. Marie Alessi here with another meaningful mindset Monday. And today I have chosen a topic that has come up on various levels, not just in my life, but I can see it everywhere where I connect with widows in particular. But this really goes out to anyone who has experienced such adversity in their lives. And I would love to talk to you a little bit about filter this morning. Before I delve into that, though, there are two things I would like to do. First of all, I would like to acknowledge two birthdays. One, it's my sister in law's birthday, and I want to say happy birthday, Jane. And two, our very own Shelina Stephenson has got her birthday today. And I know it's not quite the 8th of February in Canada yet, but here it is, so I'm already allowed to say happy birthday, Shelina. And two, before we go really deeper into this topic of filter and no filter and using the widow card, I'd like to know, anybody watching this, if you have ever heard that term, I'm using the widow card, or if you are a widow, if you have actually ever used it yourself in your life. And on the topic filters, I would really love to delve a little bit into the way our thank you. I bet that must be Shalina because I, again, unfortunately can never see. I'm doing these live streaming sessions through Ecamm and it does show me the comments, but it never shows me who it is. But by the I suggest that would be Shalina. So again, I would like to delve into the three development stages of human beings, and you will soon understand why I have a quick sidestep into this topic before I delve deeper into the topic of filters. There are three phases that are actually that human beings actually go through, and I'm going to give you a very condensed and simple version of that. Each of these phases is 7 years, and the first 7 years in a human being's life are called the imprint phase. The reason being is in those first 7 years, everything gets imprinted into your subconscious mind. It actually really creates you. You take on things from your environment, and there is no filter developed, and this is why I'm going into this topic here. There's no filter developed yet between the subconscious and the conscious mind. So everything that a child experiences between 0 and 7 goes straight into their subconscious. This is what makes us. This is where a lot of our character is developed, a lot of our being, how we are, how we live life, how we understand life. Believe it or not, a lot of that is formed in the first 7 years. Hence, it is called the imprint phase. Everything that we hear, feel, see, experience around us goes straight into our subconscious. And it doesn't mean that we cannot change that later on, but it does require a lot more work than when you can actually create a very healthy environment in the first place, but not everybody has that luxury. So the second 7 years, from 7 till 14, are called the modeling phase. This is why we orient ourselves around our models that we have. Usually that is our parents, but it can also be very close friends and family members that we spend a lot of time with, that we strive to be like, that we look up to for whatever reason. That can be for negative as well as positive reasons, but something draws us to these people. And so we begin modeling them, and then in those years, and in particular in the last 2-3 years between 12 and 14, when we are becoming teenagers, this is where we actually develop this filter between subconscious and conscious, where we can quite consciously decide what is right, what is wrong. Before, there's a lot of intuition happening and developing already. Intuition is something that later on by society gets quite squashed sometimes, so we really need to be careful that we foster and nurture our intuition, because it is such a beautiful guide for us in our lives. And then the last phase is called the rebellion phase, and that is between 14 and 21 roughly. So this is where often, we turn against our parents. We get through these typical teenager years where we just rebel and know everything better. And basically, once we turn a teenager, we know everything, don't we? At least we thought so. And I have a teenage son in my house now, so I have the pleasure and the honor to go through that with my older son Flynn at the moment. And so far so good. Touch wood. I have had a few run-ins with him, but it is a really interesting phase when you change your perspective around that, and everything in our lives about learning is really about changing our perspectives. So since I actually learned and understood that concept of rebellion phase and why it is so important for them, and that it is actually designed for them to become their own human being and not just model everything, because hand on your heart, like, who wants a child that just does everything exactly like you? You want them to become unique, you want them to become an individual, and this is the phase they're going through, to really figure out and work out in their mind, in their heart, in their brains, who am I really, and that often requires, in particular when you're really, really close and too close sometimes to your parents, as in really doing everything exactly like they do, then often this rebellion phase is a lot stronger, because it takes more effort from this young adult to actually push away from the parents to understand who they truly are. Does that make sense? By the way, if you're watching this live, I'd love to get a hashtag live from you. If you're watching the replay, then please, yeah, Chilina, then please give me a hashtag replay when you watch this later. So why filters? Obviously, filters between subconscious and conscious mind are quite important, so we can really distinguish and understand what it is that we consciously choose and what it is that subconsciously drives us. And that subconscious driver is what often derives from these first 7 years of our upbringing. How we act, how we react, how we respond to things, what scares us, like even as simple as watching a mom jump and scream onto a chair because of a mouse running through the house, or a spider, can really have a massive impact in our lives. How we later on either curiously touch the spider, the mouse, whatever that is, or whether we jump and scream ourselves. It is really by what we learn and what we adopt as a normal habit, as a normal reaction to things. And I really wanted to have this quick journey into these three models of our upbringing, so it gives you a greater understanding as well in terms of how filters work and how we work with filters. The reason why I chose this topic is because I do quite a bit of research in other widow groups, in other grief-related groups, and in most of those groups I can't spend more than a couple of minutes because I feel they're really dragging me down. The focus, the filter is on the grief, on the hurt, on the loss, on the devastating day to day, I can't handle this sort of mindset. There are one or two grief groups that I'm in where I actually really enjoy being in there, where the mood is a little bit lighter. Some of them even have a little bit of a joke that comes with it, and there's actually also Widows Humor group that I'm in, and honestly, I don't believe that anybody who has not gone through such adversity would ever understand humor like that. For some, it might be completely inappropriate, and for others, it might be that widow filter. This allowing yourself to have dark sense of humor around something that others who haven't experienced would never understand. It can actually bring a lot of lightness to that topic as well. So whether it's right or wrong is really up to you to decide. And there is no right or wrong in this situation. This is just, does it feel right for you or not? If it doesn't, then you don't need to be in that group. And if it does, then allow yourself to have that and indulge in that dark sense of humor every now and then. So everybody's got their different filters. And this is the exact topic that I wanted to share with you today. The widow card, and pardon for everybody else who has had a different sort of who lost somebody different in their lives, who had a different form of loss in their lives, because that widow card really got that name. I don't even know where it came from, but I've heard this term so often, and I have quite frankly used it myself. And this is when people come into situations where you, as the one who has been through that adversity, all of a sudden has the feeling that she wants to share, or he, a response that could be taken rather inappropriately by society, by what we expect how somebody's supposed to respond, supposed to act or react to certain topics. And I looked around, in particular in the humor group, but also in the other widow group that I'm in, where it's all about young widows, where a lot of people have got this sense of, hey, I am so young still, my life is not over. And often by society, we have this image of a widow once you lose your husband, um, that your life is over. And usually that happens to older women. And then, like, your life is pretty much over once that's done. And there's nobody expects you to, when you're in your 70s and your 80s, that you go out and find another husband. So that topic doesn't even come up. Yet when you look around, there is a huge number of young widows. And I believe that there are different laws that come to that, for the lack of better words. And when my cat's coming in, Chica. When you think about, to me, age doesn't make any difference. So to me, the law doesn't change whether I'm 30, whether I'm 45, or 70 or 80 when I lose my husband. I strongly believe that such a loss does not have to mean the end of your life. And I quite frankly understand that it can feel like that in the first instance. And my absolute go-to is that I want to give you permission to do whatever you need to do, and to really allow yourself that hashtag no filter, as in to say what you truly feel that you need. Now, here's the tricky part. I believe that when it comes to saying what you feel and telling the world what you need, the widow card is often taken as an allowing to be quite nasty to other people, and I do not agree with that. I understand that you can allow yourselves a different tone sometimes, maybe even inappropriate tones, sometimes even language, as long as you don't hurt other people. And in particular, not if it's deliberately. Does that make sense? I'd really love to hear, if some of you have used that widow card before, what your experience was and what the actual reaction was from other people. I have had two, let's call them run-ins, at friends' places where I stood up in front of a crowd of people, and I can promise you my heart was beating quite fast in both of those cases, and literally voiced my opinion about something that has been said. In one case, it was something very, very inappropriate towards her husband in front of everyone, and I had to stand up and say something because I felt, how dare you? I have only just lost my husband, like literally a month prior to that, and you dare to talk so disrespectful about your husband in front of all of his friends. And I had to say something. I had to stand up and say something and said how inappropriate, and that I did not want to sit there and listen to it. And my heart was pounding, but it really hit home. It was a really important message, and I could not help but stand up for that person because he was a very close friend of my husband and very respectful, always very respectful towards his wife, towards our family. And I felt it was my place to stand up and say something because exactly that. I could use the widow card. Nobody dared to say anything about me standing up and telling her that I did not think that was appropriate to talk to him like that in front of all of us, and that she should really value him and be so grateful to have somebody like him in her life. And another occasion was quite similar. I went to a friend's place. They had a pizza oven warming party. He just built a pizza oven in the backyard, and he was also quite a good friend of Rob's, and they invited me to come over. And luckily for me, there was hardly anybody there that I knew apart from that couple. And it was the first time since Rob had passed that I had a night out to myself. The boys had a sleepover at their godfather's, and it had only been a couple of months since Rob passed, and a quite similar scenario occurred. I did not tell anybody that I was a widow because I felt for once I could finally just be me and not having that stigma around me, that label of a widow around me. And I just realized this logo. Look at that. I can move that while I'm talking. Sorry. Got sidetracked by that logo hanging half into the image or not. So I went to this party, and I really thought this is my chance to just be me, to not have to share my story, to not have to talk about the loss, to not have to talk about how are you coping, how are your children. I just wanted to be me. I felt it was my one night out to not have to talk about my loss and to just be. And I had a really nice night, and we had a couple of drinks, we had lots of pizza, we had chats, I met some really lovely new people. And towards the end of the night, it so happened to be that all the wives sat on one table while all the husbands were hanging around watching the kids. And most of them were young kids, there were all these toddlers running around. And remember, a couple of them had like a baby Björn or a baby sling where they had the baby as well and carrying it around. And they were standing there and having a chat, having a laugh. Everybody seemed to have a really good time. And then through some weird comment that was made, I had a conversation in the kitchen with a lady that also had in-laws, either from Mauritius or from Italy, I can't remember. And I said, oh yeah, my husband's parents are from da-da-da. So I did not state at that stage that my husband had passed. I just said, yeah, my husband's parents are from Italy and Mauritius as well. So we had this lovely conversation, and later in the night when we were all sitting at the table, this one person said to me, so your husband, and I just gave her the weirdest answer, and I thought, I didn't know what to do. I so did not want to talk about it, but then I felt so awkward that I got up and walked over to her and I said, look, I just want to explain the situation. My husband passed a couple of months ago, and I just didn't know how to explain it. It didn't come up in conversation, and I could tell that I've made you feel really awkward with my answer, and I didn't mean to do that, but it was just that one night that I really didn't want to talk about this tonight, and I just wanted you to understand where that came from. She was so beautiful and very understanding. And then my friend, unfortunately, without even asking me, stood up in front of the whole table and said, Marie just lost her husband a couple of months ago, and told the whole table. And I sat there and I was devastated. I was like, not that I wanted to hide it, but that one night I really did not want anybody to talk about this topic. That was so personal to me, and I didn't even know these people. I really did not feel like opening my heart to them about my loss. Does that make sense? So anyway, a couple of minutes after that, literally 3, 4, 5 minutes into that, when this awkwardness subsided, the women started talking about their husbands, and they all started bitching about their husbands, about their behavior, about their lack of support, about their everything. And I could feel something inside me starting to boil, and it just got more and more and more. And then at some stage I was like, you know what? I just have to say something. I don't know any of you, so maybe I'm the wrong person to say something about this, but from where I am sitting just right now, from what I can see, all of you are sitting here having a drink, having nothing to care or worry about in the world right now. You only, you're just sitting there bitching about your husbands. And when I look around, all of these husbands are running around after your children, looking after your toddlers, carrying your babies around, and really doing everything in their power so you can have a chillaxed night and they are watching the children. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot see why on earth you would have a bitch about your husbands right now, where you have only just found out that I just lost my husband. I think this is highly inappropriate behavior. And I can't remember the exact words that I used, but I remember being extremely emotional and really laying into it. And then literally I'm like, is it that time of the day? I think I need to go. Anyway, I departed quite quickly after that because I realized that I had made everybody really uncomfortable, but I would have not wanted to take one word back. I really felt that it was my absolute right to use the widow card and lay into them and give them a bit of a shift in perspective to understand and look at what they truly have. And so often we get so sidetracked about what we want or what we have lost or what we don't have in our lives anymore or not have yet, that we really forget to look at what we actually have and really put our focus and our filter on what we want in our lives. This is where our power lies, to focus on what we want and what we have in our lives. Because once we start to appreciate that, things will start to shift. We will feel so much richer and blessed with everything that we have. Yet, what is the flip side of that coin, of that widow card? Where the one side is like, you know what, we can just tell people what we think and we get away with it because we've got the right to, because we've just gotten through this loss. But on the other side is the gratitude, to look at our own filters, to look at our own, well, where is our downfall? Where's our shortcomings in behavior and thinking, in lack of gratitude maybe? And to me, when I look at any loss in life, my favorite saying is always like every loss has got a hidden gift. In every adversity in life, there is a hidden gift. And sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to find it, and sometimes we get it instantly. Like I connected to a strength that was just completely beyond words for me. I had such strong intuition after Rob passed, and I felt like it was all his strength and his guidance flowing into me. I felt so carried. I felt so supported. And yes, I had moments where I felt completely alone and like falling apart and screaming and crying, and I had all of it. Yet I cannot and don't want to allow myself to just look at one side of the things. I want to look at both sides. And I choose to put my filter on all the positives. I'm not saying avoid looking at the negatives. I'm not saying negate that they are there. I'm not saying ignore them or pretend it never happened. I'm not saying any of that. Allow it in, allow yourself to process, but do that by focusing on where you actually want to be. Because this is what we can do. There are so many things where you feel like, I can't do this anymore, I can't do that anymore. Yes, I understand that. There are a lot of things that I wanted to do with Rob, and even physical things where I'm like, I can't lift this by myself, I can't do that by myself. Yet I have decided to look at everything that I can do and put all my efforts and my filters into what I can do. And the more I do that and the more I practice gratitude, the more empowered I feel. And at this stage, I'd really love to mention this one more time, that my new program is called Blank Canvas. And this whole program is really delving deep and digging out these beautiful hidden gifts and to help you create this beautiful new picture and help you paint this of where you want to be, of who you want to be, of who you want to become. And there's so many beautiful tools that I can share with you that I'd really love for you to come on this journey with me. If you're longing for this, if you're really longing to have that positive filter in your life and to find those hidden gifts in your adversity and to find your strength again and to find love and joy and happiness in your life again, then come on board. Send me a little message. Give me a blank canvas in the comments so I know to reach out to you. And we'll have a quick chat to see if this is right for you or not. I'd love to support you on your journey. This is what I'm here for. This is what I've made my whole life, my whole business about, to help you to get to this space of loving life after loss. I'm wishing you a fantastic day. Shalina, have an awesome sleep so you wake up on your birthday refreshed and happy, and I hope that you have the most magical day on your birthday tomorrow. I know it's your tomorrow, it's our today, and I'm sending you all so much love This is Marie signing off. Bye for now.